Hey everyone, this is Zoe Sion with Geekside Network, and this is CritHappens. It's a tabletop discussion where we talk about what else? Our favorite love, tabletop gaming. Welcome to the first show to it. Here tonight, I have with us is Liette,
Hello.
Famine.
Hello, folks.
We got Ace also.
Howdy.
Like I said, it's our first show, so we're going to be covering through a lot of stuff. First off, let's talk about what's our favorite tabletop game. I myself is Pathfinder right now. It's an awesome, it's fun system to play and all that. How about you, Liette?
Well, good old D&D, of course. And I admit that's the one that I've almost exclusively played tabletop-wise. So it's got a special place in my heart, especially for the hilarity. Though I do have to say, there was a really, really good rendition of Star Wars for tabletop that I played a few years ago, and that was hilarious. But a lot of that was how it was put together. Huge variety of races. You could be a Jedi, you could be a bounty hunter, all your standard classes that you would think of, and just, again, there were some hilarious situations you could get into. So that was fun, but I really don't think you can beat D&D.
Yeah, I do like Star Wars also. How about you, Ace?
RPG wise, I'd say my favorite's gotta be D&D 3.5, mainly because I've got a whole mess of books for that. I also enjoy BattleTech. Nothing like playing around the giant robots. Sadly, I only get to do that mainly at Gen-Con, so. Any old board game's always good.
Okay. This question is, how about you, Damon?
Right now, my main game now is also Pathfinder, or as they might say, Dungeons and Dragons 3.75, because that's where it came from, kind of open game license, and branched off from there. And even though I played many years with the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the second edition, we had I don't know how many hundreds of dollars worth of books. And my home campaign didn't want to give that up. I talked them to Pathfinder, and they got sucked into it. So most of the time, that's the one we get together and enjoy. And I like the variety it brings there.
Okay. Let's talk about some situations we've been in tabletop gaming. How about you, Liette?
Oh, so many to count. Well, just last night, I was in a D&D 5.0 game, and my character in that happens to be a half-elf sorcerer whose background is a pirate. That's a long story, but per her background, she had it out for a guy who took over her ship, killed all of her crew except her, and she got to very colorfully take him down. For one, she bribed the City Watch, where this other pirate was landing shortly, into letting her observe a ballista, which was heavily guarded, and the guards were showing her how to use the ballista, and the rest of the party's just kind of rolling their eyes at the crazy pirate. So my character persuaded all the guards to get into a drinking contest, which pirate won. And they were really, really, really toasted. The ballista happened to be aiming at the evil pirate ship, and bummer. Gosh, that just launched a bolt right into the side of that ship. Yeah, and the rest is history. Stink Eye the pirate is now dead. So, that was good. Good times.
How about you, Ace? Any favorite memories of playing D&D?
Actually, my last, the very last game I've played, it was run by a friend of mine, Neil. Or he was in it. They were trying to bring back this like evil monster, and they were kind of building the monster bit by bit. So we actually at one point went in the chamber that had the heart of the monster on like a scaffolding and stuff, and somehow we ran afoul of the people building the monster, the little cult or something. And so we came up with a very genius way of taking care of the guys who were coming up the scaffolding after us. They, at the very top of the room, there were two giant doors. So we basically took the doors off their hinges and then threw them down the scaffolding. And the kind of joke was later on that my character, I was playing a wizard, that he was trying to make a spell, that he would go off and make a spell that would basically just summon giant doors to fall on things. That was the spell I was going to be working on after the game let off.
Okay, how about you, Damon?
I think, boy, when I think of the tales, I tell you, there's been few enough campaigns that we got to run long term, and I liked having that feeling. We've really only had one campaign that went a very long time. Most of the groups that me and my friends have made over the years have been notable for campaigns that end dramatically early. Especially one time we had the bright idea of having a bunch of first level characters draw from the deck of many things.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Dude.
And that killed the campaign before it even started right there. But I think one of the other ones we did that was ultimately short-lived, we didn't really communicate what we were rolling up. We all just arrived at the table one day. The GM had made an adventure, and it's like, okay, introduce yourselves. Who is everybody? And found out that everyone brought only two classes, either a fighter or a wizard. We had no healing. We had no rogues. And then we found that the adventure that the dungeon master had prepared for us that day was we were to actually sack a temple full of traps.
Oh my god.
all with just fighters and wizards and no healing and no trap finders, and yet we did remarkably well, because what happened was, since we couldn't pick the lock on the front door, a fighter bashed it straight down, knocked the door clear off its hinges. And then as we ran into room after room, being ultimately cautious as we were, the short version, because the long version would take way too long, the short version was we managed to figure out a way that unhinged door that we knocked off the front defeated every trap we ran across. Found one room that had a pit 5 feet across, and then beyond that was a spiked area 5 feet across. Well, the door's got to be 6-7 feet tall, right? We laid it across the pit. Easy to take a running jump over 5 feet of spikes and come back, And ultimately, we used that mundane door. We dragged it around the dungeon, and we found a constructive use that defeated every trap. Dungeon Master was getting kind of upset at this point that he wasn't hurting anyone, and that we were all getting the stuff without getting hit by the traps. And so finally, when we again used the door to bust down another door, he said, okay, both doors have ended up in wood shards all over the floor.
Oh.
That wasn't it, though. That wasn't the end, because then during that battle, we used to use a critical fumble system. And one of our characters rolled a fumble, broke his weapon, and first level he didn't bring a spare. So then he turns around and said, hey, wait a minute. Out of all these shards of door on the floor, is there a club? Dungeon Master was like, yes, there's a club. And that was the last use we got out of the door of many uses.
Wow.
That should have been rewarded. I mean, lots of use of a mundane door.
Oh, I remember one time I was actually being a DM. Actually, it was my first time DMing, so we were just like, we're just going to make it easy. I'll use the Pathfinder starter kit just to where I get into it and everything. And I remember the group I was leading ended up in a room, first off, they found a room full of traps, and somehow they keep on forgetting how to deactivate the trap. And they kept on getting burned. And like, come on. I wanted to help them, but I'm like, this is just so much fun just doing this. And then they got trapped in a room full of spider webs and spiders. And then one of them almost completely died. Luckily, the guy who was playing the hero finally showed up in the game. And everything. So he's like, ew, everyone is like, okay. But the funny part is the hero decided to go ahead of everyone just to swim across this little lake and to get the treasure across. And when he did, and a monster came out of the lake and just crushed him into like 1 HP. And he's like, and he's a black guy, so he can say this. He's like, they killed me because I'm black, isn't it? They killed me because I was black. You saved my head because I was black. I'm like, we did?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, that's Ant in the background and everything. And oh man, it was hilarity, especially when we got his. Ace was there too, and and when they got to the final dragon, it just, oh my goodness, that dragon kept on. Thank God they had a healer, or they probably died several times.
Yeah, I think I remember you screwed up the tokens on that game.
Yeah. But like I said, when I brought that dragon out, everyone's like, oh crap. Because they kept on stepping in his spit and everything else, and I'm like, yeah, y'all should watch being in front of the dragon.
You were a mean DM.
I have some new ones I'm planning if we ever get back together. So.
Oh my goodness.
What's fun too is when your brother's running the adventure and he has some statues of dragons, and one day you got your little basically about 1 inch tall figurines, and he pulls out this foot tall dragon statue. Okay, you guys ran into this, and by the way, I measured this. This is about to scale.
Is that the colossal red that Wizards of the Coast put out, or different dragon?
No, this was just a decorative dragon statue, something he collected.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I've got. I remember when they came out with those dragons. I've got all of them. And I want to run with them someday.
Oh yeah. Now, if you want to know a mean DM, Ace is a mean DM. Oh my goodness, he's put us in some situations. Oh my goodness. Like, room was clear. Next thing we know, we had like 10 guys around us. Like, what? You set an alarm off. Like, what alarm?
But we killed everybody that time.
Oh yeah. Oh no, this was a previous game. You wasn't there. But the first game we ever played, we set an alarm off, and he didn't tell us there was an alarm. And then, like I said, we had 20 people around us, and we had my friend Desert Claw. He's like, "Screw you guys, I'm out of here. I'm going back to the bar." He ran for it and left us behind. He's like, "Look at Joe."
I'd like to rerun. I've got an adventure that I've been wanting to run. I've tried twice before. I want to try it one more time. See if I can actually get through it this time.
Okay, since I already talked about this a little bit, do y'all have any DM experiences that are fun? And let's see. Seems like Liette has some interesting one by her face.
Well, I started DMing a game for some of our members in Grievance, and that's just been consistently entertaining. There was one instance where there was a very, very relatively simple situation. Chick who worked at a brothel just wanted the adventuring party to please get rid of this dude who is acting somewhat aggressive, right? So they go from the tavern over to the brothel, and they decide, as opposed to talking to this guy, they are going to murder him. So we have this little rogue sneaking around tables and stuff and coming up behind the guy who's banging on the door to this chick's room. And he just tries to slit his throat, doesn't manage to, so he just like stabs him in the gut. The other player who was along for this was a mage, and he's like, well, guess I'm gonna kill him too. So he goes on for hit number 2. It took them a bajillion hits to kill this dude, for one, and two, honest to God, he just wanted a refund. So the guy that they killed came back as a revenant, intent on exacting revenge against these two people who just murdered him. And that was a long storyline for which I came up with ridiculously fun things. So, all that to say, I guess I try to punish evil more often than not, which I guess makes me a mean DM, but they fixed it, right? The guy just wanted a refund because they took all his money and instead of what he thought he was paying, and they got it to his family, and then they weren't hunted by the Revenant constantly, who was trying to kill them and like eat their souls and stuff. So they got through it, but that was fun. And had a few murder mysteries there because Revenant happened to enjoy killing people. Luckily, they had a scroll of resurrection to take care of that, but yeah. So that was a fun time. Oh, and there was another one where I thought I was being clever. Like, first game I ever DM'd, right? And I told him there was this trap stairway, and there are letters on the stairs, just little blocks, think Scrabble, just lots of rows of them. And maybe they should figure out what the heck that means. The stairs go up. They could not figure out that the stairs needed to spell ascend. They literally just said, I'm just going to run up the stairs. And they took massive damage. I was so disappointed.
How about you, Ace?
Oh, trying to remember. I've ran games here and there, but I can't really think of anything that really sticks out. I know the very first time I ran was for my cousin and some friends. And then I think I ran one for some other friends. I tried running one at local college evening scene. Seems like there's this one adventure I just can't get through, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get through it this time. But nothing really sticks out.
How about you, Dan? You ever DM the game?
Yeah, I've DM'd a number of times. I think one of the funniest things I had to handle as a DM, and those times when the players do something that's really outside what was planned by the creators, because in this case, some of you, like I think Gwynlette was talking about some Star Wars stuff earlier too. Were you doing like Living Force or?
Oh, it was like a scratch campaign, and gosh, it was right when that series of Star Wars books came out back in, I guess, 2007. Like, they let me play a Togruta, but they didn't have them in the books yet, so we didn't know how the echolocation thing would work, and it was crazy OP.
Okay. So I was thinking of, since way back when, I don't know, sometime after 2000, you started seeing things like Living Greyhawk, Living Force, and, Pathfinder Society. All of these groups took whatever their respective role-playing game, and they tried to make a organized national way of doing things, so that you could be playing at Gen Con, you could be playing at some other con, and they were adventures that were available that DMs would run. Well, I had one that I was running for one of the Pathfinder ones one time, so it's been prepared for me, easy, try to run it in about a 6-hour slot. And it's kind of low level. Okay, so I had some characters. They were required to escort and keep some kobolds alive to their destination. And kobolds are pretty self-destructive, even by themselves.
Stupid.
And so these guys were babysitting a bunch of kobolds that had lots of scripted opportunities to blow themselves up if they weren't being watched carefully. And unfortunately, one of the early fights the party had was against some enemy creatures, including an enemy tribe of kobolds. And what the writer of the adventure couldn't foresee is that a player that was a monk managed to non-lethal knock some of the new enemy kobolds out. And the party was so good aligned, nobody wanted to kill them, but they were like, wait a minute, let's tie them up with our other kobolds. You know, we'll get a bonus if we bring more kobolds, right? And it's like, that's not how, you know, I'm trying to advise against it, because it's like, these are really enemy tribe kobolds. They will try to kill each other. You know, the party doesn't get any bonus for bringing extra kobolds, but they weren't going to put the kobolds down or leave them behind. So all of a sudden, while I'm already trying to go through the range of things that one destructive bunch of kobolds is going to do, I had to add in the extra fact that now there's other kobolds trying to kill them too. The party just set themselves on a higher difficulty right off the bat. And despite what I did, nobody wanted to get rid of it. They finally did. They finally ended up tying their spare kobolds to a tree outside a town that would have been friendly to them, and finally left them. But that ran us pretty close up to that 6 hours. By the time we got through everything, they made it more difficult on themselves.
I've never heard of a kobold Christmas tree. Okay.
Okay, here's another question for y'all. What draws you to a tabletop game?
The possibilities are basically endless. I mean, you work within the rules, but for example, last night when I told you about the ballista story where my crazy pirate character decided to ballista down the enemy pirate ship, my DM had no idea I was going to go for that. And so he just off the cuff came up with, well, this is what's happening, and he was so bummed when I critted my deception roll to get the captain of the guard to let me do that. And, you know, you could hear it in his voice. Oh, man, I didn't plan on this. But it was pretty entertaining, and he ended up liking it because it was, one, crazy, typical for my character to come up with drunken guardsmen who ballista down this other pirate ship. And, two, I mean, I think it's fun seeing what your players will and won't do, because as a DM, you can plan as the day is long. And guaranteed every time your players will not do what you want them to do. For example, murder the guy at the whorehouse. So, yeah. I really like the unpredictability of it, and since you're not tied into a game where you always have to see things, you really use your imagination, you can do anything you want with it. It's great.
Okay, how about you, Ace?
I'd say it's the camaraderie of just hanging out with friends and playing games and being able to come up with cool adventures and stories together. You'll come up with a story as a DM, and then the players will add their own bits to it, and you usually break it.
Yep, every time.
How about you, Damon?
Yeah, I think too a big thing is the camaraderie around the table. I mean, at times I've picked different games to play. I've tried a little of all the ones that I kind of mentioned earlier. I even tried a steampunk setting in the Savage Worlds game. So I've tried a number of things. I think the big thing is the friends that I'll try it with, that will go with me, which is mostly my brother, his best friend, and now it's like the next generation has come along. Their kids are starting to get. Brian's my brother. His kids are starting to get old enough for it, and my kids, not too far down the line. Maybe I can get them into it too. I have a cousin who I tell you, I can't tell you how many times I ran into this cousin before we started gaming, but then when we started gaming, we were seeing him all the time. And he was one of those two that dramatically ended a campaign very early. kind of like the oops, when you send way too many things against a character party, they actually can't really handle it. But yeah, so it's like I'll take whatever the group goes, and I'm certainly willing to try something new, as long as I got some of those, some of my favorite people there with me to try it out.
Hmm.
Well, I had to say the same thing. Because it's just the camaraderie among friends, and you make new friends when you play at different places. Now, I will warn you, if you ever played a Robert Schwab game, Three Shadows of the Demon Lord, if he's your DM, you might as well face it that you better have like 3 or 4 other characters already made up, because you're going to die, because he loves killing people. But in his games, oh my goodness. But I just have to say, is having a good social event with friends, and especially when, see, I'm not a drinker, but I actually had some friends that drink by it, so it gets even funnier, because and everything, why they like they'll have a drinking game. Oh, whoops, I got to drink again, and then it gets funner just to hearing them how they create stuff sometimes when they're not all on their horses, I guess. But I had to say, but yeah, it's just comedy. Now, what type of game draws you in? Is it the story that brings you in, or is it because it's fantasy, or the system, or what?
Typically, it's who's going to be playing. Really, that'll get me every time. I don't necessarily care what the game is, as long as, oh yeah, that person's super fun, and you are insane. This is great. Which doesn't sound like I have very high standards, but if overall it sounds fun, and especially my indecision is typically who's going to be there with me, that'll do it.
Okay, Ace?
I've not really played too many different systems. I've done 3.5, of course. I've done 4. Was actually in like a little weekly game thing like that. So I can't really say I've done many systems, but so I don't think the systems, except for Cobalt My Baby, is the main draw. I think it's the camaraderie and who's going to be in the game, and just hanging out with people I know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you really like Red Dragon in.
Well, that's not exactly a role playing game in the sense of D&D, but
yeah,
still,
but
still tabletop. I got to play that once,
yeah.
And that was a really good game. That was really fun.
Oh, that's a fun game. I love it.
Yeah, like I say, you don't have to just be the RPG. This is tabletop. This is so.
I've only been talking more mostly about D&D and role playing, so I assumed game wise I'll play a lot of games that catch my interest, or train games really are a lot of fun.
Yeah, how about you, Damon?
All right. And I'm just showing you folks here a little bit of some pictures I've taken at some conventions, at all these players getting together. I mean, it is a big thing. The camaraderie, I've said it, you guys have said it, that is a big thing. I like having, like any game that my wife can come heal and get me out of trouble there, which she's done a number of times. I do tend to go more toward the fantasy setting. Pardon me. I do tend to go more toward the fantasy setting. I like it more. I went with Pathfinder after being even in 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons for so long, because much as I love that system, I felt like every time I'm rolling a fighter or rogue or whatever, I'm rolling the same character. And one thing about Pathfinder, but that's certainly not the only one, there's more of them coming out these days, is they give you a little more, you can build a character more different directions. They give you a broader range that you might build that character. And it makes you feel a little bit more like that you're truly making something unique. Even if I do tend to, so many of my characters will pick a dodge feat. That's almost, Again, there's certain feats and certain traits that my characters, I tend to favor, but I still feel like I can really play something and get creative. Me being a writer too, I like to be creative about a character I can dream up.
So basically, a game that can give you creativity and stuff like that. That y'all like those type of games, and as long as you can have a lot of fun with them, and also have a challenge. Do y'all like challenges when you play games?
It depends on what it is. If it's just a blood slog and you're desperate to not die constantly, I don't find that fun. But if it's where you have
Hell,
to
demon lord. Sorry.
well, that one's tough. It is, and I found the return to what is it, Ravenloft. Anyway, that was really really rough, and it wasn't a very rewarding campaign to me. You never got anything that your character could use. Inevitably, we were cursed all the time. It just didn't feel like you got anywhere. And not to pick on it, it might have just been how sporadically we were able to play. I don't know, but I like to feel like your character's progressing. I really enjoy the idea of helping the DM tell a story, but also it's led by your party and working with your party to get stuff done. That's fun, rather than kind of being on a rail, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of like that's one reason I like Pathfinder is because you're not on the rail in Pathfinder in Dungeons and Dragons. You can go somewhere you didn't expect, but the thing is, the DM has to be prepared for that too, or very creative and create something on the side real quickly or something
like when
that.
The party decides to bring extra kobolds because what? It can only be good, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so much fun. Like I said, what draws me to a new type of game, it has to be. I like fantasy and sci-fi games more than anything. So, but like I said, it has to have a good story to it, but enough freedom in it to let you deviate from where you're going, not on the rails. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Damon, don't you have some questions to ask the group?
Oh, I did. I was trying to probably answer that last. You're talking about what? Something about a draw of gaming, or what was your question exactly?
Oh, yeah, what draws you to a game? A certain style, or yeah.
Oh, I can answer style as well as everything. I tell you, I tend to be more a. I usually, at least if it's like online games and that, play a ranger. I like that. Tabletop gaming, I played enough characters that I'll deviate a bit, but there's certainly some characters I like to stick to. I still always love to do ranger first time I'm in a fantasy game if I can. Just like the class, I guess. And I think what I like too is just, any game that, I get to the point now where I've also seen so many characters die. It's, I can live with that too. I can have fun if, character dies in a memorable way. It's happened enough times already. It's, in fact, the Ranger, I said there was one long-term campaign that we ran one time in Dungeons and Dragons. We all got up to a high level. But I tell you, my Ranger in that one, by the time we kind of just stopped playing that campaign, he'd had like 12 horses killed out from under him. And he also had a habit of losing, of having magical items destroyed left and right. He would always be losing magical weapons. They would always fail their save, get busted up. And my brother, who ran most of that campaign, he finally saw to it when my character was high enough that I ended up drawing this intelligent magical mount to me, and a magical sword that could actually be fixed together if it got broken. The mount was accidentally killed by friendly fire, and the sword melted in acid.
Oh my.
I can laugh about it though, because it's just, you know what? Yeah, that's just draw the games. So yeah, I did have some questions. So I should ask. It's actually it's a little along what I was just saying. I guess I was interested in you guys and what kind of do you have a certain play style or class that you tend to do in these games?
Now I'll go last. I'll let y'all go first.
I guess I don't. My last 3 characters, one was a cleric. One before that was a dragonborn paladin with a penchant for setting things on fire, cleansing things, and the fires of righteousness, And a current character that I'm playing is my sorcerer pirate. So, no. But it's a lot more fun to have that variety. And I was okay if any of them died, because, okay, on to the next adventure, and bad as it sounds to be like, well, let's get that Jay-Z song, on to the next one. I'm okay with that.
How about you, Ace?
I don't think I've played enough games to really have sampled everything yet, so I'll play some more and I'll just change it up. Might try cleric or paladin next time and just try different things. And although I think I could probably see a fighter or ranger being my go-to class. I haven't done a rogue yet, though.
I used to like magic classes a lot, but when playing D&D and all those, but I actually like playing a ranger with a bow and arrow. Instant casting. I just like instant casting versus the and being at range and don't have to worry about as much. But having the character that's able to defend themselves close range too is nice too. So, how about you, Damon?
Well, even though, like I say, my main class has been the ranger, the one I tend to most like, I've noticed that I also tend to play a high percentage of wizard and caster classes. I am less likely to play a rogue, although when I do play one, they get very notable. It's just, normally it's not me as the character. I don't get as wild as some people can play a rogue character, and That certainly changed. In fact, I think one of the first ones I did for role-playing, I got tired of the antics of the rest of my party when we were, again, starting a new campaign. And I'm with Mr. Throw open every door, even when there's already a fight happening. And
do you aggro stuff? Go ahead, aggro stuff,
and
just for the fun of it.
And another guy that managed to go through a few characters already for the stunts he pulled. I finally created a character that was a rogue and chaotic, and even had the motto "Chaos Happens." So I went into that one, gave them a little of their own medicine. By that time I'm like, or somebody dies, yeah, we're used to it. Well, that'll be okay. So I can still kind of cover a large variety, even in the official. When I get out and play with the official Pathfinder Society, and you got to be within certain levels, I've got a lot of alternate characters. So sometimes I'll come to a table and I'll just see what everyone else has, and I'll fill in the gap.
That's a good way to play.
Okay. Any more? Hammond? Questions? Well, a good memory from these games, I have to say, is
Hard to narrow it down.
yeah. I do have to say there was several times when I could be in a group of party of 4 people, and I'm getting bored as a healer, and I'm just like, cast something to a nearby enemy that hadn't aggroed yet, and 4 more groups are coming in and said, "I'm being attacked!" And
Oh, you mean like from last night?
no. I'd also do that in Final Fantasy every now and then too, because when I get bored, I'll I'll do that. But okay, I need something to heal here. Come on,
That's a
guys.
difficult game. Sheesh.
But yeah, but it's so much fun. Just okay, I want to challenge people, and like when I'm not the DM, I can't do it. But maybe if I just throw an arrow over here, hit these people, and then just run and hide, and of course sometimes it backfires and they let me die. Unless I'm the healer, and then they're like, "Oh crap, I gotta say the healer, or we all will die." Yeah, but it's probably one good memories.
Okay.
Any more from anyone else?
Hell yeah.
Well, okay, that Star Wars game we were playing, I was a Togruta Jedi, right? And some evil person had taken out what were essentially the thrusters holding up and a floating apartment building. So this was a total building, like multi-story. Okay, cool. And we were trying to evacuate everybody, but we just didn't get everybody out. And of course my character's freaking out because Jedi, good person. So I told the DM, I'm going to attempt to levitate the building. And she goes, seriously? Seriously, you are going to have to roll a natural 20. Guess what I did? So, and you could just hear it in her voice that this thing was supposed to crash down, explode, cause mass chaos in the city, and she goes, from the taxi in which you evacuated most of the people on the second floor, you hold your arm out and levitate the entire building until the rest of its residents are out and safely, in vehicles to get them away from it, before you gently let it float to the planet's surface, settling perfectly without harming anyone. She was so mad. But the Force was with me. What can I say?
I haven't even had
How
my
about
hands
now?
on the control. There you go.
There he is.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All good.
I didn't hit the button.
Okay.
See, this is where we can be really funny and say, crit happens. Haha.
Yep.
Yep. Crit happens.
You're welcome.
Rolled a 1 on technology.
How about you, Ace?
I think dropping the doors down scaffolding onto the guys trying to recreate some kind of monster, that has to be probably good. We were enjoying that a lot. If you want to go with Battletech, last Gen Con I went to about 2 years ago, I got a Wasp little miniature to run, and basically it's this really tiny little mech, and it had 6 lasers, short range, which basically means I have to be within 3 spaces to fight anyone. So I'm just running around the battlefield, and I had like half the lasers shot off, so I'm like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm about to lose the mech. Let's go for Guts or Glory. So I was gonna do a move called Death from Above, where you basically jump up in the air and land right on top of someone else. He shot me before I could do that, though. So he suffered nothing more than little mech confetti raining down on him.
Make it petty.
I went out in a blaze of glory, though. It was fun.
About you, Damon. He hadn't.
Alright. Well, time to figure out exactly which story, because there's always too many of them. But one came to me last minute, and this was enjoyable. This is when you can just again, when a party's been long together, you can kind of relax and have fun with an encounter. It didn't seem like it at first. We had that long campaign. We have our somewhat higher level characters, okay, and this was Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition. So my brother, again running the campaign, says suddenly you see all these creatures running over the hill at you, and the creature was called a Gibberling. Now, a Gibberling is a really low-level creature. They are less than an orc. They fight. They just run straight forward and fight or die. No tactics. And he went straight out of the player's handbook, which said up to hundreds of them can spawn. And he set it out. He took the box of many monsters that we have, a lot of just generic stuff, dumped it out in front of us. Even had a whole bunch of dice out there, and to the side he put a counter. He said, "Okay, you're being attacked by 296 Gibberlings."
Oh gosh.
Filled the table, a wave of them coming at us one side. Even the first person who stepped forward and went, "Fireball!" Okay, we measured that out. It was like a little poof on the table. Okay, those died. Counter got rid of a few. The rest are coming at us. And then our druid got the great idea of, I can call lightning, and it's like that's going to take 10 combat rounds to cast. He said, "I'm doing it."
Oh gosh.
So while the rest of the party wades into 296 Gibberlings, the druid in the back starts a 10 round cast. And the funny thing is the combat happened, we were such high level, these things were nothing. In fact, my ranger, which could dual wield, and the currently had not died yet battle horse he was riding on, who could also hoof attack and everything, all of a sudden, it was a competition to see how many Gibberlings, who would win that contest, who could kill the most Gibberlings by the time this is over. And so a total high level party went just nuts on this crowd of low-level critters. We were actually proceeding forward, smashing and hacking our way through these. And fast forward to 10 rounds later. There was one Gibberling left.
Oh wow.
And it was in melee with one of our NPC followers. And then the druid said, "Bring down the lightning," which hits whatever's in melee with you. So by the time the druid got credit for one Gibberling kill and killed the follower.
Poor druid.
Mm-hmm. But we had to laugh. It's like, yay, how many can we kill? And then that happened at the end. So party's like, whoops, okay.
She killed someone.
Pay for the rest or
my
not.
Oh my goodness. Like I said, it's crit happens. I guess. Oops, we killed that follower. Well, I think it's been a great discussion. We've been going on here close to an hour now, so we definitely will have to do this again sometime, and we'll bring other guests on as I can. I'm thinking, I'm working on trying to get Robert Schraub, the guy from D&D Shadows Demon Lords, onto this sometime. Also, some other people on that actually had cool, awesome gaming experience. So we'll have to do this again sometime soon. Thanks, Liette, for coming on. Thank you, Ace, for coming on. And thank you, Damon, for coming on. And have fun rolling crit, I guess.
Yeah, thank you all. And have a good
Thanks
time.
for having me.
Thank you.